Chattisfying.
So, today, as we are celebrating Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, we're going to mix it up a little bit by introducing a new segment. So our segment one today is going to be a segment that we're hoping to bring in a lot more in the new year. It's provisionally called Round Table. I might try and give it a pithy name at some point.
I think that's a pretty good name. Round Table's pretty cool.
I'm glad you like it. I mean, it's
I
sort
like
of
Round Table.
evokes sort of King Arthur kind of thing, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the idea is basically each of us has brought a subject to the table today. It's quite broad. It could be anything. It could be something to do with streaming, your community. It could be like you just want to showcase a really great game that you're absolutely loving at the moment, or just anything really. You want to show off your hobby that isn't streaming. That, you know, it's quite broad.
How about the nerd collection?
Exactly. So each of us will basically take it in turns to talk about what we want to talk about. We're going to see how it goes. It's quite sort of chill, really. Let's do so segment one. So round table. I think being the amazing host that I am, I'll go first.
Oh.
I know, controversial. All right, I'm being a bad host here. You should always let your guests go first, but I'm going to go first.
Nah.
Selfish.
Any objections?
Hearsay.
He objects.
You can go. You can go. It's fine. I want to hear all about your news and what you're up to.
Well, I want to talk about appreciating your community. All right.
Okay.
Because I know, right? Because I don't know. I was thinking about this recently. I actually spoke to my therapist a little bit about it, and it was quite interesting. Because I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of like where you are, and you sort of even streamers aren't necessarily streaming for growth. You kind of always looking forward to the horizon. You know, I want to grow. I want to do this and all this kind of thing.
You have dreams,
Exactly. But and sometimes you can get sort of caught in a little bit of a mind trap where if you're not necessarily growing, even if, again, like I say, you're not streaming for growth, it can kind of mess with you a little bit. Have you noticed?
Have I noticed? Yes, deeply. About you or about me? No. About in general, or
yeah? Well, I say I'm speaking to both of you. Obviously, have you guys noticed?
I've definitely been in those ruts. I've definitely been in like a space that I didn't like the person I was becoming because I was too focused on that. When it's a case of like originally it was never about that, and then you sort of it's like, oh, I'm sort of looking at that, and then you sort of become a bit more focused on that, and then you suddenly realize you're only focused on that, and you're like, what am I doing? Like, throwing it back a bit. Go back to the original roots of you're just enjoying yourself, just you wanted to do it. That's it. I think once you start to do it because there's a certain means, like God forbid people doing it for money, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That or growth, that can be one that's like, well, why is this not happening? All that sort of thing, or like whatever sort of like thing you're trying to do. It can be difficult because you sort of end up getting into that mindset of like everything I do is just for this one single thing, and it shouldn't be. It should just be for having fun and enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's one of these things where you can sometimes, like, if you're making some progress and then suddenly everything goes back, it can be kind of easy to fall into like the, you know, have I done something wrong, all this kind of thing. But you know, people have lives, so yeah, and all this kind of thing. And I think I was just sort of kind of, because one of the things I think that people kind of latch onto as well when they're watching, because I think I've spoken before about sometimes like when someone is streaming just for the money, you can kind of tell.
There's certain ways they act and sort of like try and entice people to do those sort of things compared to like just being the normal sort of just conversioning and all that sort of stuff, you know?
Exactly. But on the other side of that, I think when you do it for the love, I think people can also tell.
It's like when you are playing a game you don't enjoy and people can tell you don't enjoy it. Because you just have like that thing in the back, that little bit of niggling in the back of your head, like, hold on a second here. He didn't enjoy that. You know, he's not like what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I was sort of talking about it because it is something I think that streaming is something that overall can be quite negative on the mental health. And I've heard so many streamers, past and present, sort of speak up about it, and it is good to talk because at the end of the day, like there's a lot of numbers involved, and even if you don't really want to focus on them, still end up seeing them at some point.
Then you still
Um,
end up sort of having that
and even
brainwave of like,
even if you somehow manage to completely avoid the numbers, you can still kind of get an impression of how a stream is going by how much chat's going up. So if all of a sudden everything is super quiet, you can sort of freak out a little bit.
you're like, what's going on? Or it's the same with like if someone raids that, you're sort of like, you know, it's like, oh, I don't know. Sometimes when someone raids you, you sort of, there's some people you can sort of tell there as well, and some people sort of like act more like sort of like, oh, there's not really much going on, sort of thing, like sort of like just chilling, and someone's like, oh, hi everyone, how are you? Sort of like, it's like trying to like change the whole sort of thing, like, okay, what's going on here? Just sort of like, but yeah, I think you can definitely tell, even if you haven't seen the numbers, that how things are going, depending on how like, you know, how well stream's going because of the. You know, the chat interaction or like the people coming in and a ton of people, all that sort of stuff, the conversations is going on, you know, it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we sort of ended up talking about was obviously you put a lot of effort into streaming.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you do. No, seriously, like you do.
That's not what I
in
mean.
general.
That's what I mean. It's not about just everyone in general.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I know for a fact that Sukonami puts
I
a lot
should
more
take all the
effort in
credit,
than a
actually.
lot, but you know, there's a lot of effort that goes into streaming. It's one of these weird things where there's a lot of you know, when you're live, it's quite a social kind of thing, but there's a lot of background work that goes in. There's so much, like, people don't realize, and this is another thing that I think kind of gets people sometimes is the people watching quite often don't realize how much effort goes in on the back end, and it is so much. Like even a simple stream, you know, you've got to set up a bot.
I told you about what I was doing with the modding and shit, and it's like I spent lots of last night. I got it working. It broke again, and then this morning I tried again, still broken.
Exactly.
Tried again after stream, and now it's working.
and that's to get a game to work. You know,
Yeah.
but there's also all the other stuff. There's all the bot stuff. You know, but then there's like the channel point redeems. There's things like the
Screening
animation
program.
And all this kind of thing that that Suko was talking about just before the show.
It's one of those things where I think people don't sort of realize because you want everything to seem flawless, don't you? You want things to be, you want things to on the viewer end of things to seem like it's, you know, completely going to work 100%. And when things don't work, you're kind of like, oh, something's broken here. You know, oh no, like, I've put so much effort into this thing, and I spent so much time doing this, and it doesn't work. And you end up sitting there trying to like do it, and then eventually you get. I mean, I don't think that people should. I was talking to people about this actually the other day, that you shouldn't really. I think if for anything testing purposes, if you have to go live to test something, it's better to do it on a different account, and that way it looks a bit more like professional on like your main one, you know. So if you have a setting account to do things on the testing purposes, then it's not be a case like, oh, this person went live at like 3 a.m. because they're, you know, for like 20 seconds. Like, what's going on there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But because I think that there's definitely it's worth taking pride in your work, and the fact that you put so much effort in shows that you love your community, right? You love the people that you that you provide a show for. You know, because at the end of the day, and there's so many streamers will say this, I think it's so valid. Like, if you've made someone happy, if you've made someone laugh or something during your stream, that's a big win, right? It's been worth it, right? But
sometimes they can make you laugh your head off too.
Exactly. But there's a line, and I think that that a lot of the streamers that do take pride in their stream quite often, and I'm definitely guilty of this. They get to a point of perfectionism, and if there's something wrong, you beat yourself up about it, and that will fuck you up. It fucks me up sometimes. It's so annoying.
Couldn't be me.
It's so annoying if I'm watching myself back and there's something wrong, and it winds me up. I hold myself to a really high standard, and that's very dangerous. So there's definitely there's you know, the certain amount of it is good. Too much of it is definitely not good. But basically what my the advice was given to me was, when you feel that way, just look at how many people you've actually got watching you, right? Right, because
That
even
is
one
true.
of those people, that's a blessing, right? That's someone who's taken time out of their day to watch you, you know. And that's actually, like, if you think about it, that's something really special. So even if it's only a couple of people, even if it's only one person, like, that's a win. Even if it's less than normal, that you normally expect, it doesn't matter. Like, if your view count is more than 0, then that's a win, right?
No, absolutely, it's absolutely one, because it's one of those things where you sort of, at the end of the day, no matter how much, you know, as much as you're putting in all this effort, and then you're sitting streaming, and you're sort of, you know, I guess you're just streaming to have fun. It's one of those things you don't really. If people show up, people show up. That's exactly it. So when people do show up and they do want to support you and they do want to spend time with you, and you sort of realize, like, here, like, a decent amount of people, like, you know, a handful of people are here, like, you know, 2 handfuls, however many people. It would be one person in my stream, or like 1,000, and I'd still be grateful no matter how many people are there, because it's one of those things where you end up sort of just they become your friends. They become more than friends, really, because you end up having, like, this little stream family and stuff, and you have all these people that, you know, regular people who come in, and you spend time with them, and you get to know them more, and there's stuff going on in their life you want to hear about it, there's stuff going on in your life they want to hear about it, and you end up with sort of having this close connection to people than you think you would normally. You
exactly.
know?
Yeah, and that's it. At the end of the day, like, the greatest thing I think you can do on Twitch is make friends, honestly, and just grow a bona fide community. I mean, the term community, I think, is overused, but at the
It
end
is
of
a
the
little
day,
bit, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it's
But-
also descriptive, you know.
No, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's one of those things where it does describe the exact situation you find yourself in with it, because you want to create a space that's warm and welcoming and inviting for everyone, no matter who they are, you know, who they like, their sexuality, their gender, their race, no matter what. You want people to feel safe.
Absolutely.
At least that's how I see things, and at least that's how, you know, it should be seen, I reckon, because I think there's so many. Like, you know, the internet's not always a great place. It's not always the safest place. The internet, it's not always the greatest place to be either, because people can be absolutely awful and toxic. And for someone to sort of stop by and sort of have a sort of, like, you know, it's kind of like find the bonfire in Dark Souls. Like, oh, Travel, you've been wandering for a while. Why don't you sit down and have a rest? You know, it's like they have that little spot where they can sort of, this is a safe spot, and I can actually, like, be myself and not worry about people being just mean to me and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, like, it does sound a bit twee, but seriously, the community is why the streamers that are worth hanging out with stream. And I think I've said this before, probably actually on the previous Christmas special, but thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Obviously in my community, but also in Sukonami's and Moonlitxshadows and everyone, like, just for giving your time to streamers and being entertained by them, allowing yourself to be entertained by them.
You know what's funny? You mentioned this today because Twitch Recap came out today.
Do you know who my top 2 streamers are that I've watched?
No, I don't. Who's your top 2 streamers?
Oh, definitely, I don't know.
You two.
Was it us?
Yeah. Yeah. And number 3 is Oninoa, who just entered chat.
Hello, Oninoa. How are you? Do I know who my top 3 were? My top 3 were neither of you.
Well, we only started talking recently, so, you know, I'll forgive you for that one. But next year.
Next year, exactly. That's
Gotta
exactly
show up once in a while.
I showed up the other day. We on about? I was there.
No. Like, I gotta be on that list next year.
Oh yeah, you got. Yeah, that's true. I did show up recently.
I know you have. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think it's one of those things where I like that they do this though every year. They have the little
It's really
recap
cool.
because sort of it shows you, like, from a viewer perspective, and like obviously us being viewers as well as streamers. Like, anyone can be a streamer. That's the thing. But it's a case of, like, from a viewer's perspective, it's like you're getting to see all of the sort of how, you know, how the streamers you enjoy watching the most. You get to see, you know, how active you've been in people's chats, that sort of stuff. The amount of messages you sent, the amount of time you've probably wasted on Twitch by instead of doing work.
It's not
instead
wasted
of-
though. That's kind of my
Yeah.
point.
That's exactly it.
It's got
very-
the viewers
that's exactly
and
it,
the
isn't it?
streamers one. So
I like that because last year they didn't send me one. I was like, "Here, where's my thing?
I got both last
Where
year
is
as
it?
well.
I didn't get it." And I was like, "Where's my thing? I want my thing." Because everyone was like
This
talking about it.
time
I was like,
This time
I
I
haven't
got
got
it
one.
on Twitch.
At the
Yeah,
moment,
so it's a little bar at the
year-end
bottom.
thing.
it comes up
Yeah.
automatically when you join a stream. Yeah.
"Yeah, it's a little bar at the bottom, being like, here, there you are." But yeah,
You did things.
there's definitely not people that come to my stream when they should be working or on the phone to someone for 45 minutes with no real meaningful member of that call, when it should really be, yes, don't worry, I can sort that out for you, and then sorry bro, gotta go. No, I'm kidding.
That's so good.
You'd be surprised how many people sort of like who are in school, who are in like at work, and they're like, yeah, work's dead, I want to hang out for a bit. It's like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
mental.
mean, like, Mellar comes into my stream when he's on, he'll just mute it or whatever when he needs to take a call.
Exactly,
I've had
yeah.
people in class, definitely, because they've been like, yeah, chill class going on. Hi.
The first time someone told me they were in class, I was like, teacher, what? He's on Twitch. He's watching streams.
Like, sometimes it's free time or,
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point.
as long as they aren't, like, ignoring the teacher for me. Yeah, don't do that, please.
I think if they start ignoring the teacher for me, I'll start pulling out a spreadsheet and start teaching the actual class. Like, what you doing? Physics?
So what class are you in?
I did 2 weeks of physics. I can do,
all right.
fine, I can do this.
Sex ed from Sukonami.
What's pi?
My sex ed teacher made us watch Mean Girls 4 times, and that was it. That was the entirety of sex ed.
What's that? Don't answer. Don't. That doesn't matter.
There you are.
Doesn't matter.
What?
And do you know what I learned from sex ed from watching Mean Girls?
Hmm.
There's a direct quote from the coach who teaches sex ed in Mean Girls, which is, "Don't have sex, or you'll have kids and you'll die." And that's it.
I think
That was his, entire. That was his
I mean,
entire.
I've got a kid. Does that mean I'm going to die? I mean, I suppose we're all going to die.
We're dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The real question is, do you feel alive inside? He's dead. Got him.
It's like
Always. It's like Terminator 2.
It's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite direction. Exactly.
No, wouldn't this be the opposite? Just
I suppose, yeah, it's like the, Arnie, you okay? No.
I'm
Just going down.
dying.
and then you gotta keep going down
it's
in
the
your chair.
Windows noise, like the shutdown noise is like, doo.
Do, 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 do.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Oh, goodness.
Should we move on to Moon's topic?
Yeah.
So always good to have a nice bot to take control of everything. You do commands and all that. And
what's your
I
topic?
use bots in general, isn't it?
I
I'll
thought
mix
that's
it
what
up, I
Suko
guess.
was talking about. So you talk about mix it up, right?
Because you guys said you've got some stuff as well, which is really cool.
I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't talk this topic at all.
Let's talk about mix it up.
Mix it. What's mix it up?
Essentially, it's a really good bot that can really take control of your stream. It can do your alerts, it can do overlay stuff, and just all of the works. Timers to let people know, hey, this is my Discord. This is that.
So pretty much every
use it
streamer
to-
has a bot of some kind, right?
A bot of some sort, yeah.
Yeah.
At least you should.
The sort of entry level ones, as far as I can remember, are what Moobot,
Moobot,
Streamlabs chatbot,
Moobot,
and Stream Elements.
Streamlabs chatbot, and Stream Elements, yeah.
And most of those are just like command based. They're like
originally,
this thing in,
Stream
I'll
Elements
put
was actually
this.
called Ankbot.
Ankbot back in the day, yeah,
Okay.
a long time ago.
I used Ankbot originally, and then when I loaded it up one day, it was just like, this isn't my bot. What's going on here? what happens? That was back then, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, like
gosh.
now it's like you can even do like overlay stuff, which is really cool. So like if you wanted to put all your alerts into it, it can do that. It'll be like, oh, a follower came in, let me display this image. It can play sound with it. It can do it can output to the chat. It can do all of that stuff. Just in that one location. You don't have to like go to different sites to do different things.
Yeah, because a lot
It's
of
got a
things
community
that
tab as
spread
well.
over different websites. Like, I have all the
Yeah.
channels on this,
Yeah.
and then your bot's telling you different things and all this different
I
things
need,
and all that.
I need to get my channel alerts here. I don't have my channel alerts on Mix It Up yet. I haven't done it.
Yeah,
But those are in a separate spot.
That's one thing I did notice about Mixitup is it does kind of it consolidates a lot of things that used to be separate. For example, one thing that I think quite a lot of streamers use for like channel point redemptions is Triggerfire. But Mixitup can totally do everything that Triggerfire can do, and I think probably more actually. There was a few other things I noticed because I suddenly realised when I got Mixitup and I started playing with it, there was a lot of like gumph that I no longer needed in my stream, and Triggerfire was one of them. I think it's still physically connected, but I don't think it does anything anymore for me. I think I've moved it all over.
If you take away the images and stuff, or it's not a lot of link to the channel points, so it shouldn't work now. But yeah, if it's case like if it's going through, because I think the way that Triggerfire does it is that you set it up with your event or whatever it is you want to do it with, and it uses the exact name, like it has to be like just a letter and like in the right sort of like capitalization, all that sort of stuff, and you can set it through either a command or a channel point. But I think if Mixup, I've not actually used Mixup. I don't really know how Mixup works yet. I'll be something.
Essentially, for the channel redeems, you go to the Twitch channel points. You'll add a command, and you have to make the command beforehand. You'll choose your command, and then you can choose your action that you want it to do. So, an example, I have play random sound on my channel, and now what this does is it runs an action group, which is a group of bunch of sounds. And I say, randomly select one of these sounds when this channel point is redeemed. And so you redeem it, and it'll choose one of those sounds like that. And it's like, boom, random sound. That was easy.
That springs to mind quite a few interesting ideas, though, that I've got now.
Yeah. Another one I did was a wheel. I haven't used it much yet. I just made it for Pokemon. And essentially, there's like 3 different action groups running it, and it goes through some random text that'll show like some of the options that are on the wheel. And then after the sound stops, it'll end on one. And when it ends on that one, TTS plays. It does an output to the chat, which does some random numbers sometimes as well, like kill Pokemon 3 in the party or something like that, and it randomly generates as well.
Yeah.
It can do counters and all that as well. But yeah, like all that stuff is done in one program, and it just displays on my OBS. It's wicked.
Just for reference, TTS is text to speech. For anyone who doesn't know that, I've actually been playing with something recently, and I'm sort of gradually sort of building it up. But I've been trying to make basically my bot Karagor sort of look somewhat like a real person. Just to mess with people, basically, but also kind of to encourage people to use the commands. Yeah. So it kind of utilizes that thing where it rolls a dice, basically, and it decides
action groups and randomization.
Exactly, and it sort of starts off with a very simple dice roll as to what it does, and it always starts with a really simple command, which is normally just like an exclamation mark command that plays a sound. But it then rolls another dice, and it decides which timer it's going to activate, and that timer will then do something else. And at the moment, I think I've only got it's either 2 or 3 levels, but I'm planning to expand it until it becomes a little bit more complicated. And then it's all kind of set up to try and make it so that it's relatively random, but it also
it'll look like someone's actually.
It'll look like someone's actually there. Yeah,
that's the idea. But also.
That's pretty funky, Phil.
Yeah,
with one thing, I don't know if you could ever make it work because there's a lot of and/ors and stuff. And like, I'm wondering if you could almost make the bot dad joke people. So like, if someone says "I'm blank," it could repeat that part of the text and be like, "I'm dad" at the end.
I've actually seen that in a stream before.
I think that's Buttspot, isn't it? It does that?
No, well, Buttspot does do that, but I've seen someone with something that did exactly that attached to their stream elements bot. Yeah, literally exactly what you're talking about, Moon. It would replace it.
I'm pretty sure Mixitup could do it too.
It's such a you thing, Phil.
It'd be so funny because he does it all the time. So if my bot did it and he couldn't beat the bot to it, he'd be like, "No, you took my power."
He's powerless when we take his powers away.
You can make essentially what you could do is you make a command called "I'm" and make it auto include the exclamation point, and then tell it take that person's message.
And then just take the I'm dad at the end of it. Yeah.
And you could just dad joke everybody with your bot.
You're powerless without your dad jokes, aren't you, Mellar?
I mean, I literally have we both have a dad joke command. Like, you do dad joke.
You've got to, really.
Outputs it. There's also
That's
like a community section, which you can just add commands that other people have pre-made, which is really cool.
That's super
It's also how I
powerful.
learned how to do some stuff, actually.
Yeah.
And a really good
special
Discord
guest.
community to ask questions. It does as many counters as you want. I know some bots are limited to 1 counter. You'd have 1 counter. So you do like a death counter, and that's it. But this, you can have 20 counters. You have as many as you want. It does timers. It does everything.
Yeah.
Is there quotes on this bot?
Yep. Yep, that's
Okay.
what it says.
Sorry, what
one
did
of the
you ask?
Yeah,
quotes
quotes
on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
quotes. Yes, it does have built-in quotes.
And you can
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it so it text to speech when someone redeems to so
Yes.
exclamation mark
Ooh.
quote, and it will pick a random one and it will text to speech it,
Oh,
which is really good.
Even better.
It used to text to speech when you added them, but for some reason it broke for both of us, and
Yeah.
neither of
You're
us can
you're
figure out
selling
why.
me very hard though on this bot.
Yeah, honestly,
selling
it's
I'm
me a lot.
amazing.
glad that was the whole point. I'm just kind of looking through and seeing. I know another thing a lot of people like. There's unique commands that
Okay.
only certain people can do.
Yeah,
And you
Yes,
have entrance
yes.
commands as well. That's all set up through this as well.
yeah.
So
It keeps track of your hours as well. which
There's
is really cool.
there's a certain way you can do it. At least I had it set up on the so I've been moving around bots myself, and I'm actually on SteerBot, which is quite a powerful little gadget, itself, where it has you're able to animate, sort of like automate things using a little bit more sort of technical coding stuff, where it's like you're doing certain actions, taking this from that and taking that sort of stuff. And I've managed to like automate certain channel point redeems that if someone activates something, it'll automatically go find this thing, do it, and then I'll activate it on stream, and it keeps it sort of more, flawless and sort of like instead of me being like, oh yeah, let me activate this reward, let me click this button real quick. I got to that point now where I've got it automated, so it'll do a keyboard press. It'll sort of register itself as a keyboard. It'll register a keyboard press without me having to press anything. So it's like it's telling me so it needs to press, I don't know, key 7 instead of me pressing key 7. It'll register.
Yeah, it can do that as well.
It's done. Yeah.
Mixitup has a keyboard input. I actually use that for VTube Studio because VTube Studio has hotkeys, and essentially I can run it by just telling my keyboard to hit 2 without me actually doing it, kind of thing.
No,
So
exactly.
it does all that as well.
I was hanging out in a stream the other day, and someone was talking about bots, and they said that what was the one that you mentioned again?
SteerBot.
StreamerBot is like mixitup plus like for pros, whereas mixitup is a lot
so
more.
Would it not be as user friendly? I wonder, because I know Mixitup's fairly simple to use and get it. To do what you want.
When you load up SteerBot, it's pretty much a white sort of overlay, and then you've got like some things at the top, and that's it. That's you're left to your own devices to figure it out. I'm like, okay.
Oh god!
So I
No,
had to-
Mixitup's so user friendly.
I had to sort that out myself, teach myself how to do all that. So
Oh my
it's
god!
there's a lot of things like that. You sort of eventually. Once you sort of understand it and all that sort of stuff, it's like, okay, I can sort of do this, and then you
It's
sort of just
good,
play around with it, yeah. But I had a problem where a newest version came out, and I couldn't get it to like open. It was like it was saying it's open on my desktop, I'm like where it's not open anywhere. Like I tried to like Taskmaster.
Oh my god!
Task,
Okay, so that's more confusing.
just close it and sort of reopen it, but it wouldn't show up anywhere. So I uninstalled it and reinstalled it, and I lost everything. So I had to do it all again. And let me tell you, I was fine, 6 months ago when I did it, first of all, and I had to redo it now. I was like, I had to reteach myself how to do all this again.
Oh man, that
And,
sucks.
Oh, no.
so this time, I exported a copy, just in case.
Just in case, that's a good idea. I mean, do you
That's
have more
good.
than one screen?
Yeah, I have 2 monitors.
So what I found sometimes, especially if you occasionally switch what your main screen is, sometimes an application will get stuck on a screen that technically doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
the best thing to do in that
Oh.
situation is just change what the main
There's a
screen
key
is, and then
command,
it appears.
right?
Yeah. It's on.
I
It's,
think
You can also Alt Tab and see if it is actually open, and if it's
'cause
open,
you can cascade.
you can
windows
tell it's on a
again.
screen that doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'm getting that a lot at the moment because the way that Skyrim works, I actually have to switch my main screen, and then when I go back, and then when I start working from home, I then have to switch it again because the working from home doesn't appear on that screen. It's so annoying. But
Yeah, there's a button command, and essentially when you click it on an active window that's off the screen, it'll actually let you use your arrow keys to bring it back onto
it
the
back to
screen
you.
instead of like changing the screen.
It's like when you take a window and you put it under the taskbar. Like,
Mhm.
how do I
How do I bring it back up?
It's just there. Come on. just up a little bit. So you can't get to it. Yeah. It looks like
that sounds like a much more complicated program.
Yeah,
mixed up, like everything's there. You can group stuff. You can so you have a set of commands that you only want to run sometimes. You can put them all in a group, and then if you don't want them on, turn the whole group off, and then that's it. You don't even have to think about it.
Oh,
and that's really cool.
It's a lot more, easier than just me having to try to figure it out
I
myself.
feel like it's user friendly. Yeah. And there is a Discord with a support section, and they are phenomenal. They helped me so many times on whether I could or couldn't do something, and how to do it if you could do it. And
I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest thing, though, when you're trying to do things and you're like, "Can I do this? Is it actually possible?" Yeah. And then you sort of see someone else has done something along the same lines, like, "It is possible."
It is possible, and then you can be like, "How do I do this?"
Yeah, you can. So I can figure this out, and then you ask them so you sort of get a little breadcrumb trail, like, okay, find my way to where I'm going, sort of thing. Eventually, they'll do it. It's Hansel and Gretel.
I love seeing everyone's hours too. Mellar, you're insane.
I miss when,
and that's not your total hours either. We know that it's not because I didn't always have the bot.
I miss that it only shows you from when the bot's first getting used. Isn't once you start using the bot, it'll then trap do that sort of thing. So it's if you show it from all time, it'd be great.
Mixitup allows you to input your own time. So if you had a previous bot, you can input those numbers, which I did. But when I first started, I didn't have a bot that tracked hours. So the beginning of my streaming, obviously, we don't have those hours.
So you don't know.
Then I had another bot that did, and I put all those hours over into Mixitup. Mellar with maybe 2,000 hours.
He's mad. He's generally mad. He's a madman.
I'm always here.
He really is. Which is awesome. We don't have it.
When you don't expect it the most, he's sitting he's standing at the side of your bed, like, I'm always here.
Just when you don't expect him, he's just, what?
But I'm in an undisclosed location too. He doesn't know where I am.
I'm in location number 2.
I'm in Canada. That's all.
I'm actually. So I also live in the UK, which people know. I live in Scotland, or do I live in Scotland? That's the question. I'm just a Scottish man, but I could live anywhere. I actually live in Mellar's basement. This is where he keeps
no one can say they live in my basement.
We don't have basements.
I'm in my basement.
Well, I mean, you can.
Yes, true.
I live in my basement, but nobody else does.
It's like that one episode. It's like one episode of The Simpsons where they all lived in the basement because Marge was terrified, and I was like, I kind of like the one that lived in the basement. It was kind of cool.
You wouldn't want your whole family to live in the basement with you, though, would you?
No. I would love to live in the basement, though.
Yeah, but with your whole family.
No, on my own.
Wait, you said UK doesn't have basements?
Not really.
Not really.
We don't really have. We have sometimes we have cellars.
Cellar is not the same.
Interesting. Yeah, no.
We don't have basements. No.
I'm down here all the time. I've got my own bathroom. The laundry room's down the way. The only time I need to go upstairs is if I need food. I have a mini fridge beside me.
We're lucky to have one bathroom in our house. Never mind, one in the basement. We don't have a basement.
3.
Yeah, most of the time the bathroom's out in the backyard. You have to walk outside of the cold.
It's true.
That sounds like my cottage.
The bathroom.
We have an outhouse and a bathroom.
It's an outhouse right beside the bomb shelter, and that's where it is. Then the bottom of the garden, you have to walk maybe 3 miles up and down these mountains and over these snowy passes.
No, it's uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways, yeah.
Yeah.
It was uphill to get over the mountain, and then you get to the outhouse, and you uphill to go back up over.
So it's uphill both ways.
Yeah.
Uphill, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like school. Whenever I have kids, I'm going to tell them that I had to do that. I'm determined to. I am.
So, Suko, do you want to go?
I will. I want to talk about the season, the festive season, a little bit, because it is the season.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on in the season. A lot of people have time off. A lot of people are sort of working it. There's a lot of there's a lot of different people with different sort of things. And I want to start off by talking about how, if you are alone at Christmas, it is there are people out there that a lot. You'd be surprised how many people stream on Christmas. Not me. I won't be. I was
debating it.
I think it's one of those things where some people do stream on Christmas, and then you're able to sort of
It's like,
I like the idea, though. I like the idea that you can stream on Christmas, and that way, there are people who don't have anyone. Sometimes people don't celebrate Christmas, but also sometimes people have got no one else on Christmas, and it would be nice to sort of be
like a little vote.
You never know.
Christmas morning, most people in my house
they're always
10 or 11, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm up at
It
7,
changes. It
I can stream
changes a
for 3
lot, though,
hours.
isn't it? Because when you were a kid, it was like you get up as soon as you get up as soon as you can.
You get up at 7. Yeah.
Santa's been. I want to go to see what he's got me. You know.
Yeah.
I want to see, I've been a good boy this year. I want to get my presents. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of
So
those
it was like,
things-
I was debating, should I try and stream? I could always do a vote and be like, who'd actually be around?
Because the thing is, like, not everyone
And-
has everyone for Christmas, so it's always very difficult
Yeah,
to
that's
know.
true.
Yeah, it's
So
different.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
Do you get up early with the little one for Christmas?
He's-
Is that something?
He's never really been old enough yet.
Okay.
Maybe he will be this year, but yeah, he's never really been old enough
I
to
feel he might
fully
start.
appreciate.
Hopefully,
Swanky's coming.
He'll start getting exciting for like, I got this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I assume I don't know if you have many kids watching during this sort of podcast when it's a bit more adult and we're talking about things and saying the F word sometimes. Would you say there is, just so I don't ruin the Christmas magic?
No, I mean,
No.
you're supposed to be 13 to even be on Twitch, so
Santa's near real, folks. Santa's near real. Except for if you see Violet Night in cinemas, if David Harbour is Santa. A really strange movie. I've not seen it yet, but I do plan to.
have you seen Bad Santa? That's an amazing movie.
Isn't that what's his name? I know who you're on about. It's like he's got it's a very standout name. The guy who plays Bad Santa.
I think so, yeah.
Why do I can see in my head. It's like something. It's like
Billy
his
Bob
name.
Thornton.
That's it. That's how I knew. I was like, he's got a very like, I'll wear, very like one of those standout names. Like that's the guy who plays Santa.
I thought that movie was hilarious. I watched it with my family on Christmas. It went down like a lead balloon. They were like, "That wasn't very good." I was like, "Did we just watch the same movie? That was absolutely gold."
Do you do you watch like signature Christmas movies on Christmas? Is that the sort of thing you do?
Not always, but we did.
No.
We do occasionally, and we did that year.
I like to watch. I watched Die Hard one year.
That's
Christmas.
Die Hard 1 and 2 are Christmas movies.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I keep hearing that. I've never actually watched either of them.
To be fair,
sorry.
I've never seen Elf.
I don't think I have either. I've seen
stand
clips
by that.
from it and shit.
So
Wasn't
I
Elf,
haven't watched it.
what was his name? Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yeah.
So I'm not
He's
really a
like-
fan of his. So I'm just
Yeah. So the thing is, right? And you know this because obviously I've been speaking to you about the new job and stuff, and the same with Moon. I got starting to work in a cinema on that sort of stuff, and because it's getting to the season, they're playing a lot more Christmas movies in the cinema. I didn't realize that cinema did this. I thought it was just like new releases, but they actually put out older stuff as well. So I've walked in and had to check screens where Elf's been playing, or the Christmas. Or the Muppets Christmas Carol has been playing.
Oh, nice.
Christmas Carol,
Classic,
yeah.
And all those sort of things. I'm like, what? I thought we were watching movies from like 2022. What's going on here? It's Elf. And Casablanca was on the earlier. I'm like, what's going on?
Classic.
What?
Is that a Christmas movie then?
No, I just think it was the 8th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
It's old. It's old. That's the issue.
Yeah. Well,
You're
it was a warmer time movie. Yeah, so 42. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to watch Casablanca sometime, but I just haven't. But yeah, Christmas is one of those times.
I watched Casablanca thinking I probably wouldn't like it. I
that when
watched
it
it
first
purely because it's a classic. I was like, well, it's a classic. I'll watch it. Actually, genuinely enjoyed it. Thought it was brilliant.
You didn't catch it, did you?
What?
You said you watched Casablanca. Was that when it first came out?
Yeah, 'cause I'm that old, aren't I?
No, I'm kidding. But no, I think I was saying before you had to rush off for a second there
Yeah.
that a lot of people sometimes are alone for Christmas, and I think as you get older, you don't want people to be, you see that people are, they don't always have someone there, or that you want,
Yeah.
Christmas. I feel like ever since people were kids, it's always been one of those things for a lot of people at least. Not everyone feels the same way. Some people don't celebrate Christmas. Some people just think it's another day.
Some people just don't celebrate. Yeah.
It's a case of like, you want everyone, for the people who do celebrate, you want it to be a warm and inviting time, and you want, I was saying this earlier that I think it might be, not everyone can do it because obviously they're the family commitments, but people who that can and sort of can spare a couple hours or whatever it is, the people who can, stream on Christmas can also be sort of like that bit of company that someone needs on those holidays. I think it's one of those things where when you. Because I think you came back and we're talking, like Moon and I were talking about that. It was like, maybe we should do a vote.
Yeah.
That I think it's being able to be there for someone, especially on like being there. This is kind of riffing off of what you said about community. It's like people coming by and you being there, being able to sort of like make someone's day a little bit better. On Christmas, it's mental because you're sitting there and it's like it's one of the biggest holidays of the year. I feel like it starts in November, probably actually September. Now I think about it because Halloween gets knocked over quite a lot, and I hate that.
I hate that part.
I hate working in retail. Whenever
I don't like the
like
commercialization of
the end of
Christmas.
it. It's like you get to it's Halloween and you sort of see all the snow and the trees and the elves, and I'm like, it's Halloween. What's going on here? Guy Fawkes hasn't been yet. It's. But yeah,
it shouldn't be till mid-November.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where when Christmas comes around, I feel like everyone. I think generally is a little bit nicer and kinder, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in that one movie where he wants an action man really, really badly.
Oh, what's the name of that movie? That I really enjoyed watching that.
You know what I'm on about?
Yeah, I watched it.
That's every retail store ever on Christmas.
I
want the last Lego set. What's it called actually? I want to figure this out. Are you looking it up? Probably looking it up.
Oh, I feel like I know what movie you're talking about actually.
It's that one where he's talking about how he's got a tumor.
No, that is Kindergarten Cop.
That's Kindergarten Cop.
Not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
I think I know what movie you're talking about. No, I can't.
It's not Twins with Danny DeVito.
No, it's Jingle All the Way. Is the
Jingle All the Way? Yeah,
is the
Jingle
movie
All the Way.
What is question for you, Moon? What is your favorite Christmas movie of the season?
Gosh, I've always really watched Jack Frost since I was a kid, so I really like that one, and then the Home Alones. We always watch those at Christmas time. not the horror movie Jack Frost though, because there's a horror Jack Frost too.
I don't think I've ever seen either.
There are two Jack Frosts. They are very different movies.
You can imagine it's like you're sitting with little Timmy. Oh, we're gonna watch Jack Frost today.
We're gonna watch Jack Frost,
and it's like,
and then all of a sudden it's like scary snowmen like murdering people or something.
Terrifying.
It's like
I'd be absolutely terrified by it.
There's two movies called. Sorry, go on.
I've seen people making a joke. Used to in Blockbuster switch the two Jack Frost DVDs and watch people point the shit out.
Oh no!
That's so funny because there's two The Mummy movies that came out really like quite soon. One of them was like a 12, which is the one that everyone knows with Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser one.
Another one that came out about the same time, which wasn't as popular. That was a 15. That was actually like a balls out horror movie.
Oh, no.
Hey, you don't want to get those mixed up.
I think I grew up with the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. Yeah. I watched them a lot as a kid, and I was like, "That's pretty good." I feel like my childhood with that sort of stuff was like pretty good.
Yeah.
So Home Alone, both the Home Alones and Jack Frost, not the horror one, the actual
the one.
Mellar, what's your Christmas movie of choice? What do you enjoy this season?
Well, as we've just reiterated the fact that Die Hard 1 is a Christmas movie, it'd have to be that. But failing that, I actually think Bad Santa is so funny. I love that movie.
If Hans Gruber does not fall off the Nakatomi Plaza, it's not Christmas.
I agree. You know the classic piece of trivia that like everyone knows about that. Like the look of shock.
How it was dropped.
Yeah, the look of shock in his face is real because they like we're going to drop you on 3, 1, and then they dropped him. Yeah, and apparently he was pissed as well.
I love Alan Rickman. What a great man.
Yeah, agreed.
Rest in peace. He is. He sadly passed away. So Bad Santa, and then you've got. So okay, what about for the little ones? What if you had to go through a Christmas movie? Little ones, I don't want to go for the Grinch. I love the Grinch. Never said no to the Grinch.
Which one?
There's only one. We don't talk about the other one. There's only one. Jim Carrey, covered in.
Oh no, there's like that 30-minute one.
There's only one. There's only one. There's only. Don't forget the one that used to watch. Forget that. It's not important. Oh, Dr. Seuss one.
I don't think it's that one. There's another one. It's just a 30-minute. It was the original.
It's the one that's Christmas. Like it plays.
It's only half an hour.
It's the one that short. Plays. You're a mean one.
Yes,
that one. Yeah, I remember.
Yes. Yeah. I used to watch that one a lot.
I watched the one with Jim Carrey a lot. Yeah. And like the immersion was broken when he was like on an interview. And he's like, "Oh, I used to just smoke heavily and like listen to the Bee Gees to get through it." because it was like probably like being covered in like this yak hair. It was extremely flammable. So like the cigarette like extender sort of thing, and it's like so he wouldn't set himself on fire. But no, I mean, I grew up watching The Grinch, and obviously Die Hard. You can't beat Die Hard.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is going back to how Christmas starts too early in the year. Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie, or is Nightmare Before Christmas?
It's a bit of both, just because
Christmas
Halloween
movie.
Town and Christmas Town, right?
I think it's a Christmas movie with Halloween themes, isn't it, rather than the other way around?
So originally
I don't know,
Halloween
because
started.
it started as Halloween. It starts on Halloween,
Yeah.
Yeah, all like Christmas.
and it's always spooky because he tries to make a spooky Christmas. So it is both, really.
Right. Because
It's like spooky Halloween Christmas, right?
I love
Well,
how that was,
see,
like,
then
that was almost like Doctor. What's his name? Dr. Evil. Right.
Right. I don't know about that one, you know, because I'm sitting here thinking, you know, maybe it's a Halloween movie, but at the same time, people are sitting there watching it at Christmas, and I'm like, how do I do this? How do I figure out which one's which?
So what you do is
That's a weird one.
you watch it on like the either the 30th of November or the 1st of December, right in between the two. if
That's how you get past it.
If you forget to watch it on one of those 2 days, that's it. You're gonna have to wait till next year.
Fun fact: I've never seen that movie. That's why I don't know when to watch it.
I've never watched it all the way through. I've watched bits of it, and I've got a really good friend of mine that's like, "You have to watch this movie, Mellar," and I've never got
You
around
know,
to it.
there's so many movies that I end up avoiding movies because people do that. They're like, "Oh, you should watch this." I'm like, "No,"
Overhype, yeah.
just because you tell me to. And there's no Lion King because of that reason. I won't. If you tell me to watch Lion King, I'm not gonna. That's an extra year. I will not watch it for.
That's fair.
Here we are.
You
Same
should
with
watch
Lord
it.
of the
So if I
then,
say
I'm kidding.
don't watch Lion King movie live action, just please listen to that. Don't do the opposite.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
That's one of the only things I know.
Halloween.
I think what was an anthology, wasn't it? It's not. Is it not like a whole thing that it's actually an anthology movie where the Nightmare Before Christmas is actually part of the Corpse Brides? Like it's like future, past, and present, and with like Frank and Winnie as well.
Yes.
Like it's this, I don't know if it's a committed thing or if it's a fan theory.
One thing.
I
That's the
actually
thing.
don't know.
So,
I think because the characters are pretty like the style of the movies are obviously.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Tim Burton.
But yeah, I
Tim
don't know if
Burton's
that
a
is a
G-man.
fan theory or an actual thing. I actually can't remember
You know, Tim
because I
Burton did-
have heard that theory.
I think the best part of Christmas, and forbid me for saying this because I know a lot of people won't agree, was when they did the Doctor Who Christmas specials. I missed them. They don't do them anymore.
Do they not do them anymore?
No, they stopped. They stopped after like the fifth.
It's probably about the time that I stopped
13th.
caring. To be fair.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, yes. I think the 12th Doctor they stopped doing it, but I'll probably bring it back. And I'm very excited to watch Doctor Who on Christmas again.
There
It
you
was
go.
always a thing. It was always everyone got in the telly, 7 o'clock, BBC One. Not a response for that. 7 o'clock on Christmas. Mellar to just Mellar 21. Maybe he'll play a movie. I don't know. You can expect that sort of thing. He's a lovely man. That's what he's fun for all the family. You should watch it at Christmas. You're
Sounds like a
welcome.
debate.
Consider yourself satisfied.